help his guru. And for us, the important thing above everything else that he gave us is that Swamiji was our channel, is our channel to our guru, Paramahansa Yoganandaji. I remember hearing Swamiji say to someone, about someone at Ananda village who left and went elsewhere. He said, she will never find God except through this channel. So it's a sacred bond. It's not we pick and choose, we want an Indian, we want an American. We take who God gives us, and Master couldn't be with us. We missed by some years, but he sent Swamiji, his son, to be with us. And Swamiji gave the techniques of Master in a sterling way, really. I don't know how you can give them anymore. Magnetically, energetically, enthusiastically, joyfully. I remember once he asked me in passing, Dhyana, do you energize? And luckily this was years back. And honestly, I had to be honest, I said, not much, sir. And he said, oh, you must. You just must. And I, from then, took it upon myself to energize every day, which I request all of you who haven't been doing that too. Swamiji would sit with us for hours and hours talking about Kriya. I remember a time when we had our first Kriya Bond retreat in America at Ananda Village, and Swamiji, he gave the Kriya, gave the first Kriya, gave the higher Kriyas, he gave Kriya reviews, he checked people's Kriyas, he had questions and answers, he read quotes on Kriya, and with the questions and answers, he said, I'm going to sit here until there's not any more questions, and I'm going to answer all of your questions. He was completely 100% behind us in giving the techniques. He was 100% behind us, more than that, in giving the teachings in all the various ways that he did, the books and the lectures. I'll go more into that later, but he gave the teachings in a joyful way. He said that Master was a bliss avatar. He wasn't lonely and alone and sad and moody, and he said the path to God, as Rima beautifully read, is Satchidananda. And Swamiji exuded bliss all the time. If your face is hanging down, your eyes are drooping, you need to rethink it, because this is a path of deep joy. It comes from inside, it comes from meditation. Swamiji showed how to live in this world that's crazy. It's not our world, but we're here visiting, we're traveling through. He taught how to live centeredly, clearly, joyfully, enthusiastically, magnetically, selflessly, and he showed a life of a yogi in the cities. And there are not many people who have demonstrated that, how you can live in joy no matter where you are. And Swamiji also showed deep friendship. Everyone, I think many of you who knew him, and certainly I think practically everybody in all the colonies, felt Swamiji was their best friend. Everyone, Swamiji's my best friend. Swamiji's my best friend. Swamiji's my best friend. And he just was always supportive, and is, to everyone. He wouldn't support you in your delusions. He would help you through them. He talked of a person some years back who, I think the person was kind of in a mood or depressed, something had happened. And so they came to see Swamiji and to talk with him, and Swamiji noticed that the person had been drinking and not apple juice. So the person had been drinking. It was kind of, because they were depressed, they were kind of reeling, and Swamiji had them in, he talked with them, and he just kept trying to uplift the person, and then he said later he heard the person bumping around and stumbling out in the back garden trying to leave, but he never said anything. He just tried to continue to help the person. So he was a true friend, not just to the people who he knew, but in the streets, everywhere. People would stop and touch his feet. We'd go to the Metropolitan Mall right behind us, and I still go and meet the people who he knew there, but everyone knew it was Swami Kriyanandaji, you know, in the eyeglass store, in the barista, all the places over at Moe's, he would go and buy things, but he went because the people became his friends, and he went to see his friends. He would go to Tonino's. He loved the Italian food there. Many of us went there with him those last months, and it was so sweet because I went back to all those places after the day of Swamiji's passing, or at least within those days, and because I felt Swamiji would want me to go and tell them. And the same day he passed, I went to Tonino's because I was going to Noida Center to give us, you know, the ceremony, and I came back through, and they all gathered round, and you could just tell how much they loved him and how much he loved them. And I went to all the stores he went to, I went and told them that Swami Kriyanandaji has passed. And they were just so saddened, and so they had a dear friend in him, and he was universal. People thought, oh, he's personally mine. I mean, he was never personally anybody's. He was always beyond that body. I mean, I think he knew people's thoughts. He at least proved it to me many times, and he was not just a person. He was spirit, and when he left that form, he went into infinity, into omnipresence, and so he could be with us even more. When Swamiji, as a child, his mother offered him to God. She said when he was in her womb that this child I give to God. So he was blessed from many incarnations, who knows how many, of carrying people's souls to God. And it's interesting because he came because Master came, and he was one of Master's children, his son, one of his sons, and he came to help Master's work. And Swamiji said in their early days, I'll tell you more about that, but he said he would always try to tell people to go, you know, he's the one, Master, go to him. You know, when Master was alive, he would say, no, go. And he never took responsibility. He would say, no, you go. And Master said to him, you know, you have to take the responsibility. And so then Swamiji took his role or his job more seriously. But there's a beautiful story of Ramakrishna and his disciple Vivekananda. And Ramakrishna was in the realms, the astral realms, and he said to his disciple, who was, you know, very much younger than him then, he says, I'm going down. Are you coming along? And he said, I will come. And this is how Swamiji was his master, I will come. And he came, and Master, within 3 months, Master took him 2 or 3 months. He took him immediately into the desert, into 29 palms, into seclusion. Imagine, he came, he says, you heard him say, I didn't know anything. And Master said, come on, let's go. He took him immediately into seclusion. And Swamiji wasn't used to being in silence and seclusion. And so one time he was with Master and nobody was there, and he says to Master, he was used to talking. And he said to Master, well, how does he was trying to think of something to say, how does the Om sound? How does that sound? And Master, he didn't know how to talk. And then he said, well, how do you do what's the mudra? And those of you who know, but Master just put his hands up and that was it. And so Master just brought him in right away into silence. He brought him into helping him edit the Bhagavad Gita right at that time. And Swamiji stayed with him for some months there. And then within 8 months, it's pretty miraculous, Master had Swamiji speaking on his behalf. Now, keep in mind, Swamiji was 22 years old. He was young, he was new, he was inexperienced, we would think. And Master Swamiji said later in his book, The Path, The New Path, he says, Master did not care how new I was, how young I was, how inexperienced I was. What he cared about was the bond that we had from past lives. That's the most important thing. We have that bond with our gurus. We have that bond with Swamiji. It doesn't matter if you came yesterday, if you came today. That bond is set there by God. And so Master told Swamiji, he sent a message for him to go and speak. It was either San Diego or Encinitas, San Diego Church. So I think it was Bernard came and says, Master, I want you to go. And it was the day before, and Swamiji says, I never lectured in my life. And he says, well, I'm going to get studying. And then he says, well, not only that, but this is 8 months after Swamiji came, and you heard his story of how he came. He said, also, he wants you to give a Kriya ceremony. And he said, Kriya? I just got Kriya myself. He said, well, I don't know. That's what Master wants. And you know the story how Swamiji is there. I mean, the thing I love is he did it. Who amongst us would have had the courage? But he did it. And there he was, and the curtains parted, and there was Swamiji at 22, and he was that age, and he said that most of the people he lectured to were in their 40s. What was Master's solution? He said to Swamiji, grow a beard. So he had to grow a beard so he looked older, because he said, this is your role. And Swamiji said, because Master said, your role is lecturing, writing, and editing. And you have a great work to do. And Master Swamiji said, but Master, I don't want to lecture. He said, I just don't want to do that. He said, you better learn to like it. It's what you're going to have to do. Then he ended by saying, the path to God, something like that, is martyrdom. He just didn't let him out. And then Swamiji said, well, I don't want to write. Hasn't everything been written? And Master said, don't say that. There's so much more to write. And so then Swamiji began his work. And he began to, during Master's life, but also afterwards, I mean, how many people can reach as many people as he has? So many, I have no idea. But many, many thousands, if not millions of people came to these teachings, found out about Yoganandaji through one person, Swami Kriyanandaji, through his lectures. And he traveled around the world speaking. You all saw him his last months. He went all around India. He wasn't feeling well. I mean, people say, I don't feel well, I'm not coming. God, he didn't feel well a good amount of the time. I mean, I have my thoughts about why, but he wasn't feeling that well, but he went all around India. Remember, he could barely walk, he could barely sing at the last lectures. He just kept going, you know, and someone asked Swamiji, well, would you, because he just wanted to do whatever Master wants. I don't want to do anything for Swami Kriyananda. Who is Swami Kriyananda? I want Master's thoughts, his vibrations, his ideas, whatever, whatever he wants me to do. And someone asked him about Italy. What did you like living in Italy? Because he lived there for some years. He says, I don't care what I like. I live in Harlem. Master wants me to live in Harlem. I live there. He just didn't care. And that's such a good example for all of us. We have to have this, and I have to go there, and I have to be this way. But he was such a good example of just freedom. If you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't. And so Swamiji lectured all over, and I wanted to read you, he gave so many talks. I only have a couple of hundred on my phone here, but I think there's hundreds and hundreds of Swamiji's talks. Listen to some of the topics. The balanced life, be honest with yourself, being and doing, the book of Brigu, can karma be changed? Can you change your destiny? Changing habits, clarity of the heart, devotion versus emotion, energy, consciousness, and joy, finding your spiritual family, giving and receiving, Good Friday, gratitude, Guru, disciple. I mean, there's hundreds of talks by Swamiji. And the books that he wrote, all the books on even astrology, he wrote something on astrology. I thought many people here don't even know that. Of course he wrote on the scriptures. Of course he wrote on success and magnetism and energy and the lessons in Raja Yoga. And then Swamiji wrote a secret series. I don't know if you all know, but I don't know if we have them here, but Secrets of Life, Secrets of Peace, Secrets of Joy. Yeah, Secrets of Happiness. But there's one that Swamiji wrote I think nobody knows about here. Because he wrote Secrets for Men, and then one lady said, "Oh, Swamiji, why don't you write Secrets for Women?" He said, "Me?" And he said, "Why not?" So he said, "I had to go into the bhav of a woman to write that." He said, "I didn't really like it very much. I was ready to come out." But he did it. And he wrote Secrets. He said there was just too many emotions going on. He wasn't used to emotional outbursts and reactions. And he said, I didn't like it very much. But he did it. So he wrote for so many different things that one can utilize in one's life. So he spoke, and then he wrote, and so many various things. He founded communities. Now, we talked about with Swamiji one time. Oh, then the music, of course. You heard some of the beautiful music today. And Swamiji wrote 400 pieces of music. Now we say 400 pieces of music, but how many pieces have you written? When you think about it, I just couldn't write one piece. Maybe if I really tuned myself and had Master's grace and all, but 400 songs? That's a lot of songs. And he said they were painless philosophy. Now, there are a lot of people who said they wrote music, and the early years of Ananda, I write because I want my voice, and I want people to know my song. And one man went to Swamiji and said, "You know what I mean, I just have to write my music." And Swamiji said, "I don't know what you mean. I don't have to write any music. It's whatever God wants." And so he said it was a way to serve Master. That's the only reason he wrote music. It's a way to serve Master. It's been a way to bring people onto the path. He wrote on the yoga postures. He said, it's a way Master wanted me to do that, to bring that, which Bhajan is doing such a beautiful job. All the yoga teachers are here. But that's a way opening for people to find God. And so it wasn't that he had the desire. He wanted to be a good disciple. What a beautiful goal for one's life. I want to be a good disciple. And what that means is volumes. That's not a little goal. And we were just talking about Swamiji once in Italy, and we had some a gathering like this, and so 4 or 5 people were sharing on, because he also wrote on education and various things. And so one person spoke on what Swamiji said on education, one person on the music, one person on the scriptures. There are people that were sharing what Swamiji's life and what he did and what he had written in communities. And Swamiji heard about that. He said, "What is that?" He said, "That means nothing." He said it was there to do. I was glad Master could use me as a channel, but it wasn't me doing it. He said, all I want to be is Master's channel. Whatever he wants, that's what I want to be. He said, at the end of my life, I want to be known as a good disciple. And Master, a couple of days before Master's passing, Swamiji was with him alone. And Master said these beautiful words to him. He said, I'm very pleased with you. I want you to know that. And Swamiji said, just imagine. He just felt so uplifted. Master told him, I'm very pleased with you. I want you to know that. And so how can we please Swamiji? How can we please our gurus? How can we keep his presence alive in ourselves? I would say, think of the qualities that he exuded. Joy was one of them, completely centered. The clearest mind I ever came across. Super clear, crystal clarity, enthusiasm, depth, attunement, friendship, love, forgiveness, harmony. think of the qualities. And I would say, why don't we each take one? You decide. The one quality that Swamiji exuded that you want to bring into yourself, into your life. Think of it. Just reading about it, it's not gonna, maybe it's forgiveness. Let me forgive everyone. He never held a grudge against anyone, and I saw so many things. I went, wow, I would have been really mad about that. But he just, I remember one time he said to me about people who had really hurt him. And I said, oh, I just couldn't have taken that. Swamiji said, all I ever felt for them was love. Swamiji, that had to have been Master's grace. How could you have felt love? And he said, it was grace. So if we go in that way, that I'm ridding myself of this, I can only do so much, and I know God and Guru's grace will come. And the other thing is some way to help his work. It's so wonderful to see the choir here. You know, we started with 4. We started with a small group, and it's gotten bigger every week. It's a way to serve. Swamiji said, to get to know me, listen to my music. And if you can sing the music, all the better. I would say if you have even half a voice, talk to Amit. Get up in the choir and change yourself through the vibration of Swamiji's music. It's all attuned to Om. And I think of he would love this, you know, that we have a choir in Gurgaon. I mean, that's huge news. We have a healing Sangha. That's huge news. We didn't have that before. We have yoga teacher training. That's big. We have meditation teacher training. That's big. We have people coming, serving, setting up the altars, serving in the office, bringing the prasad, all the different things, taking the pictures. I grabbed Nidhi as soon as she came and started taking pictures. No, this is what he wanted. And Swamiji came to India the last 10 years of his life. You have to know it. 2003 to 2013 is passing time. And he gave his last energy to give Master's work started here in India. And when he left, I want you to know he was pleased with all of you. And before that, he was saying, I don't know what's going to happen here in India. But when he left, because so many people had started coming and taking responsibility, when Swamiji left, he said, this is fine. He was pleased. And I know he was pleased. All of you who knew him, all of you who didn't know him, he's still pleased with you as well. And I was thinking that Swamiji came because Master, you know, he had been in Europe, he had been in America, Swamiji, but then he came to India when he was 78 years old. I mean, you don't start a work typically at that age, but I remember he said, I'm going to India, Master wants me in India, let's go. And I was there. He was calling different people up on the phone, would you like to come to India with me? And people, what? How about in 2 weeks? So people start dropping things and just coming with Swamiji. You think of the great saints that, you know, Teresa of Avila, she founded convents all over, even, you know, in elderly age. And Swamiji was the same. He just felt, Master wants, let's go. Who wants to go? Jamal came at that time. Kabir came. I think Bhajana was here. Various ones. Cecilia, Vivek came just a little bit later. Various people came at the very start. I came about a year after. But it was like, this is happening. And he was just so happy. We're going to Master's home. And we were coming. He was coming with whoever we could get to come with him. At a certain point, there were 40 people from Europe and America. And Swamiji was putting out this big aura to draw Master's Indian disciples. He drew the American ones, European, then he said, now let's go find Master's children. And he put out this big energy, television, and we'd go out, remember Jamal, we'd go out all the cities, just travel around and teach, and he was so happy he could reach them. And that was the culmination of his life, was when he came to India. He had an Indian heart. You have to know that. He said, in America, I can say so much in my classes. In Italy, I can say more. In India, I can say everything. He could teach everything in India. And he really loved it. And his heart was, his bhav was master and Babaji and Lahiri Mahasaya. He was here and he drew everybody. And for us now, Swamiji, and we're his children, and that's an important role that we too have to say, now we go forth with education, we'll go forth with the choir, we'll go forth with your teachings, we'll go forth with yoga, Swamiji, we'll go forth with teaching meditation, we'll get the meditation groups going like what Nikki and Landry have and various ones, we'll do it, Swamiji, He's saying, who will stand with me now? And each of us has to make our own commitment. I'll do the boutique, I'll do this. And every part of it counts. And the last thing I'll share is when Swamiji, a few years before he left his body, I asked him in a group like this if he could still help us after his passing, like he was helping us now. And he was pensive. It wasn't like he gave a quick answer. He said, I really hope so. And I meditated on that, and I finally understood what he meant. He meant, I'll surely be there. Can you tune in enough so that I can reach you, and I can help you, and I can keep guiding you. And so for all of us to listen to his talks and read his books and be in satsang and get into the classes or whatever, just think, Swamiji is trying to lift us all up to go to where he is. Wouldn't you like to go there?